What if I told you that the only reason you're alive right now, sitting here watching this, is because of the absolute most devastating planetary crash in the history of our solar system? Seriously. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're setting the stage for an intense cosmic thriller all about our planet's incredibly violent origins. So this isn't just your standard story about rocks floating in space. No, it's the literal story of how a cataclysmic, doomsday-level event somehow created the perfect recipe for life.
All right, let's just dive right into it. I want you to imagine this for a second. What if a whole other planet crashed right into Earth? I mean, it's a catastrophe so massive, so completely destructive, that it absolutely should have annihilated us before we even existed. But instead, it acted as the ultimate lottery ticket for our survival. We're going to look at how absolute, total destruction actually built the world we know today.
Let's put this into perspective with a quick timeline to really ground us in the sheer scale of cosmic history here. So 4.6 billion years ago, the solar system forms, right? And it is just this wild, chaotic place. But notice that at the 4.5 billion year mark, our young Earth didn't even have a moon. Crazy, right? The scars of what happened next lasted for a billion years, eventually leading to these giant lunar lava eruptions around 3.5 billion years ago. If you could time travel and look at Earth back then, you literally wouldn't even recognize it. It was a completely different world, right up until the defining moment of its existence. Enter the villain of our story. Meet Theia. Now, just to be clear, we aren't talking about some 100-mile-wide asteroid like the one that took out the dinosaurs. Not even close. We're talking about an infant planet. The early solar system was a really crowded playground, and Theia found itself on a direct, completely unavoidable collision course with our home. This was a literal planet-on-planet collision. It's easily one of the most spectacular and, frankly, terrifying events you could possibly witness. So, the absolutely crucial point to understand here is the mind-bending scale of this impact. When Theia hit Earth, the sheer force completely melted solid rock. It violently threw over a billion tons of debris straight out into space. I mean, let that number sink in for a second. A billion tons. That is a massive amount of the Earth's crust and mantle just blasted out into the void, forming this huge, swirling disk of cosmic shrapnel. This colossal impact completely shattered both worlds. Like, the Earth that existed before Theia hit, it is gone forever. During this incredible collision, the two planets were broken apart and then quite literally mashed together, combined into one single massive molten planet. In fact, it was so violent that giant slabs of Theia sank right into our planet, plunging 1,800 miles deep. And get this, today, there are massive, literally Australia-sized chunks of an alien world just sitting deep inside our Earth's mantle. How wild is that? Section 2. Forging a magnetic shield, the hidden gift. Now, I know it's kind of hard to believe that absolute planetary devastation has an upside, but this catastrophic hit was actually humanity's greatest lucky break. Let's look at the before and after. Earth before Theia, it had a way smaller core, a super chaotic wobble, and it was highly vulnerable to the harshness of space. But when these two planets smashed together, parts of Theia's iron core permanently merged with Earth's. We essentially collected a much larger, much hotter core than we ever would have had on our own. So why does this actually matter to you and me? Well, because that extra liquid metal flowing around in our enlarged outer core generates our incredibly powerful magnetic field. Without that newly forged shield, the sun would output billions of tons of high-energy protons and electrons that would simply strip our atmosphere away entirely. Just poof, gone. Without Theia, our planet would look exactly like Mars, just a barren, totally lifeless desert. We literally exist today because of that extra iron. Moving on to Section 3, How the Moon Was Born, a Ring of Debris. Okay, so we've seen what happened deep inside the Earth, but now we really need to shift our focus outward, out to that massive ring of a billion tons of debris that was blasted into the cosmos. This is fundamentally a story of impact, coalesce, and interact. From that massive debris disk, all that molten rock began to slowly coalesce together into an infant moon. And right away, the gravity of this newly formed body began to interact with Earth. Now, you gotta picture this. Right after the collision, Earth was knocked completely on its side, and it was spinning so incredibly fast that a single day lasted only a few hours. But this new moon brought what we can really only call superpowers. Seriously. Left to its own devices, our planet would have experienced this unpredictable, wildly chaotic wobble. But the moon stabilized that wobble, ultimately locking in a stable climate for us.
Its gravitational pull created the ocean tides, and it acted like a giant brake, slowing down Earth's rapid spin to the nice 24-hour day we know now. It even acts as a giant cosmic shield, sweeping up and deflecting stray space rocks. It basically took a violently wobbling, uninhabitable rock and turned it into a world perfectly primed for life.
The sheer science of chance at play here is just staggering to think about. This was quite literally a 1 in a million cosmic stroke of luck. Think about it. If the impact from Theia had been just a little bit harder, the Earth might not have recovered at all. It could have just been completely destroyed. But on the flip side, if it had been just a little bit softer, a little less forceful, it wouldn't have melted the planets enough to merge those cores, and the massive changes needed for us to be here simply wouldn't have happened.
There's a quote from our source material that perfectly summarizes everything we've just covered. We got lucky. Most planets don't get to survive a collision like that and get a bonus moon out of the deal. It is wild to think about, I know, but we genuinely owe our very existence, our climate, our protective shield, and our ocean's tides to this ancient cosmic mayhem. So I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought. If the recipe for a habitable, life-sustaining planet actually requires a perfectly angled, perfectly sized, planet-shattering collision, well, how many other worlds out there in the vast universe actually got this lucky? The mysteries of space are infinite, and our origin story is really just the beginning. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and hey, keep looking up.